Okay, we're going to move on today to significant figures. Now, in significant figures, there's two main things to remember. So, first, numbers. Sorry, not numbers, we'll just change that to zeros at the start or end don't count. But zeros in the middle do. So what on earth do I mean by that? So let's say I have 0.006324 and I want one significant figure. So the zeros at the start don't count. So I start in here. I want one figure. Arrow says do nothing. So my answer is 0.06. Let's see that again. 0.053256. And let's say I want two significant figures. These zeros don't count. 1, 2. Arrow says do nothing. We'll practice it again. So 0.060592. And if I want three significant figures, these ones don't count. Then I go 1, 2, 3. Arrow tells me to go up 1. Okay, so that's zeros at the start. What do I mean by zeros at the end? Say if I have a number 5, 4, 3, 2, and I want one significant figure. So there's no zeros at the start, so I start here. The 4 tells you nothing. These two numbers are nothing like each other and they should be roughly the same. So what do you do to make them look roughly the same? See the way I've got 3 digits I didn't need? Put in 3 zeros. You'll notice there's no decimal point in that question. If there's no decimal point, it's always at the end. And a wee tip that I'm going to give you here for your second note. If you have any gaps before the decimal point, so before the decimal point, fill in with zeros. So what does that mean? Let's try it again. If I had 6, 3, 2, 4, 5 and I wanted two significant figures, I go 1, 2. The 2 doesn't change it. Now my decimal point is here at the end. Do you see the way I've got gaps now? I've got a gap of 3 digits. You fill that gap with zeros. Both answers should be roughly the same. Try it again. If I had 653.892 and I want two significant figures. Significant figures start at the beginning. 1, 2. Arrow tells me do nothing. But you see now I've got a gap between my number and the decimal point. You must put a 0 in. So that's bringing me on to my third point. So you start counting or start underlining. Write it out properly. Start underlining at the first non-zero digit. Okay, so it's quite a lot here to take in with significant figures. So we'll run through a few more examples for your notes. So 532.8973. If I wanted one significant figure, you start counting at the first non-zero term. Arrow, do nothing, fill in the gap. Don't worry about after the decimal point, just before it. Let's try another one. 3, 5, 7, 8, 2. And if I wanted two significant figures, start counting at the first non-zero. So that's my first non-zero. I want 2. Arrow says go up. And we'll keep going. And I had 8.9362 and I wanted two significant figures. Start counting here. 1, 2. Arrow says do nothing. Now I don't need to put zeros on because I don't have a gap before the decimal point. So basically you have to sum up. So 1. Start counting at the first non-zero digit. Then you underline an arrow as normal. So underline and arrow. And then what you do, you just check your two answers look roughly the same. So basically what that means with, if you have any gaps before the decimal point, fill in with zeros. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to ask you to have a go at page 77 and 78. You might want to play my video as you're going through this and pause it for the answers just to help you, because I know this is quite tricky.